Hollywood celebrated their talent and striking looks, but many of these actors spent years fearing that honesty could cost them everything. From secret relationships to career-changing revelations, their coming-out stories exposed a side of fame rarely seen. Stay until the end and subscribe to Classic Hollywood Legends for more unforgettable celebrity stories. Richard Armitage. Richard Armitage is an English actor and author from Leicestershire, best known as John Thornton in the BBC drama North and South, and Thorin Oakenshield in Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy. His commanding screen presence and deep voice made him an international leading man, but for decades he kept his personal life away from publicity. Behind that reserved image was a difficult childhood. Armitage has said he endured physical, verbal, and homophobic bullying from primary school into secondary school, lasting roughly 10 years. Long before he fully understood his sexuality, other children had already turned it into a weapon against him. At 19, he came out to his family and close friends fearing he might be rejected. His mother became emotional while his father responded practically and accepted that his son was simply who he was. Can you imagine building a public career while always expecting one personal question to change how the industry sees you? Armitage did not discuss his sexuality publicly until 2023 while promoting Netflix's Obsession. Rather than staging a dramatic announcement, he casually referred to his male partner and explained that he had already come out to everyone who mattered when he was 19. He later revealed that he was in a happy, long-term relationship with a man who was not a public figure, whose identity he had chosen to protect. By then, performances in Spook's Hannibal, The Crucible, and The Hobbit had already established his career. Matt Dallas. Matt Dallas is an American actor from Phoenix, Arizona, best known for playing the enigmatic Kyle Traeger in ABC Family's science fiction series, Kyle XY. The show lasted 3 seasons and turned him into a popular television heartthrob, bringing magazine features fan attention and growing recognition. Behind that success, however, came pressure over how he was expected to behave and present himself in public. Dallas later said that agents and other people around his career encouraged him to keep his sexuality hidden. While Kyle XY was at its peak, he was advised to change the way he spoke, work with a vocal coach, and attend red carpet events accompanied by women. Still young and experiencing his first major breakthrough, he worried that rejecting those demands might cost him the career he had spent years building. During one radio interview, he even denied being gay, a decision he later remembered as one of the most painful moments of his life. What must it have felt like to portray a young man searching for answers about himself while being told to hide his own identity? In January 2013, Dallas chose a quiet but unmistakable way to speak publicly. He shared a photograph of musician Blue Hamilton and wrote that he was beginning the year with a new fiancée. The post confirmed both their relationship and his sexuality without a formal announcement. Dallas later admitted that he kept refreshing the page, feeling anxious but also relieved because the truth could no longer be taken back. Dallas and Hamilton married in July 2015. Later that year, they adopted a 2-year-old boy named Crow through Arizona's foster care system. Creating the family, Dallas had once feared openness might place beyond his reach. Colton Haynes. Colton Haynes is an American actor and former model from Kansas whose striking looks helped him become one of television's most recognizable young heartthrobs. He gained widespread attention as Jackson Whitmore in Teen Wolf before joining Arrow as Roy Harper the Vigilante, later known as Arsenal. Behind that confident image was a private struggle shaped by Hollywood expectations. Haynes had been open about being gay before his acting career took off, but he said managers and other industry figures advised him to hide his sexuality if he wanted to be considered for leading roles. During auditions, he adjusted his voice, clothing, and body language to appear more conventionally masculine. He later explained that Teen Wolf creator Jeff Davis defended him when executives discovered an earlier photo shoot he had done for a gay magazine. Although his career continued to rise, constantly monitoring his behavior intensified the anxiety he had carried for years. Can you imagine becoming admired for your appearance while believing that honesty about yourself could destroy everything you had achieved? In January 2016, a Tumblr user referred to Haynes's supposedly secret gay past. He responded by questioning whether it had ever truly been a secret, and the comment quickly spread across the internet. The sudden attention became overwhelming, leading him to seek treatment for severe anxiety. 4 months later, Haynes publicly confirmed that he was gay in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. He also revealed that stepping away from Arrow had allowed him to focus on his mental and physical health. In 2022, his memoir Miss Memory Lane offered a fuller account of fame, family trauma, addiction, and the personal cost of hiding behind a carefully constructed Hollywood image. Luke Evans. Luke Evans is a Welsh actor and singer born in Pontypool and raised in Aberbargod, South Wales. After building his career on the stages of London's West End, he moved into film and became widely recognized as Bard the Bowman in the Hobbit trilogy, Owen Shaw in Fast and Furious 6, Dracula in Dracula Untold, and Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. The confidence he later displayed on screen came after a childhood marked by fear and isolation. Evans grew up as an only child in a deeply religious Jehovah's Witness family. Other children called him gay before he fully understood what the word meant, while the teachings around him warned that such feelings could separate him from both his family and congregation. At 16, he left his hometown and eventually came out to his mother. When church elders discovered an interview he had given to a gay publication in his early 20s, he was formally expelled. His parents, however, chose not to abandon their son. Could you imagine chasing an acting career while believing that honesty might cost you your family, community, and professional future? Evans was already speaking openly about being gay while appearing in the musical Taboo in 2002. As his Hollywood career expanded, he became more guarded during interviews, leading some observers to believe he had returned to the closet. Evans later rejected that suggestion, explaining that he had never felt ashamed of his sexuality. He simply wanted to protect the private life that fame had not taken from him. His success in action films and romantic roles also challenged the belief that an openly gay actor could not convincingly portray powerful, rugged leading men. John Barrowman. John Barrowman is a Scottish-American actor, singer, and television personality whose confident looks and energetic charm made him a natural leading man on stage and television. Born in Glasgow, he moved with his family to Illinois at 8 before returning to Britain, where he built a successful West End career. International audiences later embraced him as Captain Jack Harkness in Doctor Who and Torchwood. Barrowman realized he was gay during his teenage years, but growing up in a conservative Midwestern community made openness feel risky. He attended school dances with girls and kept his sexuality separate from the life others expected him to lead. Although he later said he never felt ashamed of being gay. He waited until his early 20s to tell his parents. The conversation he had spent years fearing did not divide the family. Instead, his parents continued supporting both his personal life and entertainment career. How many handsome young performers have hidden their real relationships because they believed honesty would end their chance of becoming a leading man? Barrowman eventually refused to let that fear shape his public identity. Captain Jack was confident, heroic, and openly attracted to people of different genders, offering mainstream science fiction audiences a type of queer action hero rarely seen on British television at the time. Away from the cameras, Barrowman met architect Scott Gill after Gill attended his performance in Rope in 1993. Their relationship continued for decades. They entered a civil partnership in Cardiff in 2006 and legally married in California in July 2013. Rather than hiding the occasion, Barrowman shared it publicly, placing the man who had supported him throughout his rise to fame at the center of the celebration. Dan Amboyer. Dan Amboyer is an American actor born and raised near Detroit, Michigan. After studying acting and musical theater at Carnegie Mellon University, he moved to New York and built a career across television and the stage. Audiences may recognize him as Prince William in William and Catherine: A Royal Romance, or as the very different twins Thad and Chad Webber in the comedy series Younger. Away from the cameras, Amboyer spent years separating his professional identity from his private life. He had been open with people close to him, but he said several individuals in the entertainment business strongly advised him not to discuss his sexuality publicly. As a young actor frequently considered for traditional leading man roles, he worried that casting directors would stop seeing the characters and focus only on the fact that he was gay. Even starting a new production meant deciding when and whether to tell colleagues about his longtime partner. Would you risk losing major roles just to stop hiding the person waiting for you at home? Amboyer finally chose openness at one of the most personal moments of his life. On October 7, 2017, he married financial planner Eric Berger in New York City after they had been together for nearly a decade. By announcing the wedding, he also publicly came out as gay for the first time. There was no carefully staged campaign, just a decision that his marriage should not be treated like a secret. Amboyer and Berger later became fathers to 2 children. In 2025, Amboyer said marriage had given their growing family both greater protection and a public acknowledgement of the life they had already built together. Jonathan Groff. Jonathan Groff is an American actor and singer from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He first broke through on Broadway as Melchior in Spring Awakening, later reaching wider audiences through Glee, Hamilton Mindhunter, HBO's Looking, and the voice of Kristoff in Disney's Frozen films. Groff moved to New York at 19, where the theater community gave him space to understand his sexuality without forcing him to explain it publicly. During Spring Awakening, he introduced his boyfriend Cody as his roommate, even though many cast members likely understood the truth. Groff later said he was grateful that no one exposed him before he was ready. Their acceptance allowed him to come out to friends and family on his own terms. How difficult would it be to receive a Tony nomination while believing that honesty could end the career you had just begun? The turning point came in October 2009. Groff attended the National Equality March in Washington, D.C. with actor Gavin Creel, whom he was dating. Seeing Creel openly organizing and speaking through a bullhorn made Groff reconsider what mattered most. When a Broadway.com reporter asked about his sexuality, he publicly said he was gay and proud. Groff later admitted that he believed coming out meant giving up the chance to become a major film or television star. Instead, he went on to play both gay and straight characters, lead Mindhunter, and win his first Tony Award in 2024 for Merrily We Roll Along. Cheyenne Jackson. Cheyenne Jackson is an American actor and singer born in Spokane, Washington, and raised in the small northern Idaho community of Old Town. He built his reputation on Broadway through All Shook Up Xanadu and Finian's Rainbow before reaching television audiences in 30 Rock, American Horror Story, and Call Me Kat. Jackson knew he was gay while growing up in rural Idaho, where he often felt different and saw performing as a path beyond his hometown. He came out to his family at 19 years before his Broadway breakthrough. His professional coming out happened almost accidentally during a New York Times interview connected to All Shook Up in 2005. When the interviewer asked whether he was gay, Jackson answered honestly instead of requesting that the comment be removed. Would you have taken the same risk, just as your first leading role was beginning to attract national attention? Jackson later acknowledged that openness may have cost him opportunities. He believed some executives still questioned whether audiences would accept a gay actor as a romantic lead, yet he refused to retreat. He played both gay and straight characters, supported LGBTQ+ and AIDS-related causes, and continued working across stage, film, music, and television. Jackson married actor Jason Landau in 2014, and the couple welcomed twins Ethan and Willow in 2016, the family. He once could scarcely imagine growing up in Idaho became part of the life he now discusses without disguise. Luke Macfarlane. Luke Macfarlane is a Canadian-American actor born in London, Ontario. A Juilliard-trained performer, he became widely known as Scotty Wandle in ABC's Brothers and Sisters, later playing Davin Jacobus in Killjoys and appearing as a romantic lead in numerous Hallmark films. In 2022, he starred opposite Billy Eichner in the major studio romantic comedy Bros. Before Brothers and Sisters, Macfarlane worked on the military drama Over There. He later recalled feeling half in, half out while promoting the series, afraid to discuss his sexuality openly. When his recurring role as Scotty was upgraded to series regular, he realized that more interviews would follow. Rather than repeat the same exhausting silence, he decided to speak publicly. In an April 2008 interview with the Globe and Mail, Macfarlane confirmed that he was gay, admitting that he was frightened about what honesty might do to his career. Would you tell the truth if an entire industry had already warned you that it might cost you the roles you wanted most? Those fears were not imaginary. Macfarlane later remembered an agent bluntly telling him that Superman can't be gay. After Brothers and Sisters ended, he watched other actors his age receive the action and leading man opportunities he had hoped to pursue. He could never prove which roles his sexuality affected, but the frustration stayed with him. Macfarlane continued working, often playing straight romantic heroes for Hallmark. Years later, Bros finally placed him at the center of a studio film as an openly gay leading man, the kind of opportunity he had spent much of his career waiting to receive. Brian J. Smith. Brian J. Smith is an American actor raised in Allen, Texas. After studying at Juilliard, he gained recognition as Lieutenant Matthew Scott in Stargate Universe and police officer Will Gorski in Netflix's Sense8. His performance in the 2013 Broadway revival of The Glass Menagerie also earned him a Tony Award nomination. Acting became a refuge from a childhood Smith later described as lonely and frightening. Growing up in suburban Texas, he saw no LGBTQ+ organizations or openly gay people who could show him that another life was possible. He constantly monitored his voice movements and even how long he looked at another boy. Schoolmates targeted him with homophobic insults, but when he stepped onto a stage, those same students finally paid attention to his talent. Could you imagine receiving applause in the theater? Then stepping outside and feeling that your real identity still had to remain hidden. Smith did not come out to his parents until he was 30. He expected a painful confrontation, but they responded with support and told him they had simply been waiting for him to speak. Even after that conversation, he remained publicly silent for several more years. That changed in November 2019 when Smith came out as gay during an interview with Attitude. He explained that working on Sense8, a series centered on human connection and acceptance, helped him recover a part of himself he had spent years suppressing. At 38, he finally allowed audiences to know the man his family and closest friends had already accepted. Matt Bomer. Matt Bomer is an American actor born in Webster Groves, Missouri, and raised in Spring, Texas. A graduate of Carnegie Mellon University, he became widely recognized as the charming con artist Neil Caffrey in White Collar. He later earned critical acclaim for The Normal Heart, The Sinner Magic Mike, and Fellow Travelers. Long before audiences knew much about his private life, Bomer's sexuality had already become a subject of media speculation. He later explained that he never concealed being gay from friends, relatives, or colleagues, but some outlets discussed it publicly before he had the opportunity to tell his own story. Early in his career, he also encountered homophobic comments on a set, reinforcing the belief that openness could make an actor vulnerable in Hollywood. How would you feel if strangers revealed such a personal part of your life before you were ready to speak? Bomer took control of that narrative in February 2012 while accepting the New Generation Arts and Activism Award at the Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards. Instead of issuing a formal announcement, he thanked his partner publicist Simon Halls and their 3 sons, Kit Walker and Henry, for teaching him unconditional love. That brief acknowledgement publicly confirmed the family he had previously protected from attention. Bomer and Halls had privately married in 2011. After coming out, Bomer continued playing leading roles while taking on projects such as The Normal Heart, which preserved the history of the AIDS crisis, and Fellow Travelers, a drama centered on gay men surviving decades of political persecution. His family remained private, but no longer had to be treated as a secret. Joey Pollari. Joey Pollari is an American actor, musician, and filmmaker born in St. Paul, Minnesota. He began acting as a child and later became known for playing Will Mackenzie in MTV's American adaptation of The In-Betweeners. More demanding roles, including troubled high school athlete Eric Tanner in American Crime and Lyle, one of Simon's possible romantic interests in the 2018 film Love, Simon. Pollari came out as gay to his family and friends when he was 18. Unlike many public coming-out stories, the people closest to him were not the main obstacle. He recalled that only a few seemed surprised and that his mother had already been leaving gentle hints to show that she would accept him. The more difficult struggle happened internally. Pollari had absorbed enough shame to make acknowledging his sexuality to himself harder than telling anyone else. Have you ever wondered why self-acceptance can remain difficult, even when a family is ready to offer support. Pollari discussed his sexuality publicly for the first time in a 2018 interview while promoting Love, Simon. The timing carried special meaning. The film followed a teenager frightened that coming out might change every relationship in his life, while Pollari understood that fear from personal experience. He had already portrayed gay characters, including Eric in American Crime, but speaking as himself required a different kind of honesty. Rather than turning the announcement into publicity, Pollari used the conversation to emphasize that coming out is not one dramatic moment. For him, the hardest step had taken place years earlier when he finally stopped treating his identity as something he needed to resist. Lee Pace. Lee Pace is an American actor born in Chickasha, Oklahoma, and raised near Houston, Texas. Trained at Juilliard, he became known as Ned in Pushing Daisies, Joe McMillan in *Halt and Catch Fire*, Thranduil in the Hobbit trilogy, and Ronan the Accuser in Marvel's *Guardians of the Galaxy*. More recently, he has played the powerful Brother Day in *Foundation*. Pace spent much of his career protecting his private life rather than denying it. The situation changed in 2018 while he was appearing on Broadway as closeted Mormon lawyer Joe Pitt in *Angels in America*. During an interview with W. Pace was unexpectedly asked about his sexuality. He answered that he had dated both men and women, but objected to the question's intrusive nature. Would you answer honestly if a personal question caught you completely unprepared? The reaction to that interview pushed Pace to clarify his position publicly. Days later, he wrote that he was a member of the queer community and understood the importance of living openly and being counted. He did not present it as a dramatic confession. He explained that he had already been living honestly while choosing how much of his personal life belonged to the public. Pace later said the intense Broadway role and sudden scrutiny left him emotionally exhausted. He continued working in major film and television productions, and in 2022 confirmed that he had married Matthew Foley. Their relationship remains largely private, reflecting the boundary Pace had tried to maintain from the beginning. Rick Cosnett. Rick Cosnett is a Zimbabwean-Australian actor born in Chigutu, Zimbabwe, where he spent part of his childhood on a farm. His family moved to Australia when he was 17, and he later trained in acting at Queensland University of Technology. American audiences came to know him as Dr. Wes Maxfield in The Vampire Diaries, FBI analyst Elias Harper in Quantico, and Detective Eddie Thawne in The Flash. Cosnett had already played a gay character on Quantico, yet he kept his own sexuality away from public discussion. That changed in February 2020 when he recorded a short Instagram video without a magazine interview publicist's statement or carefully planned campaign. After a nervous pause, he simply told viewers that he was gay. He explained that he had promised himself to live truthfully each day, even though beliefs absorbed from childhood society and ordinary life could make that difficult. How much courage does it take to say something so personal when millions of strangers may immediately judge you? The announcement lasted barely a minute, but Cosnett's hesitation made it feel genuine rather than rehearsed. He even broke the tension by joking about the sty on his eye, acknowledging how dramatically ordinary the moment looked. Days earlier, he had described experimenting with self-expression as both liberating and frightening. Fans and colleagues responded with messages of support. Cosnett did not present himself as suddenly becoming someone new. The video simply allowed the public to see a part of the man that had existed behind Eddie Thawne's badge and polished television image all along. Daniel Newman. Daniel Newman is an American actor and musician born in Atlanta, Georgia, and raised in a conservative Southern household. He appeared in The Vampire Diaries, Homeland, and The Dark Knight Rises, but became most recognizable as Daniel, a soldier from the kingdom in AMC's The Walking Dead. Newman was honest with people close to him, yet avoided discussing his sexuality publicly. He said agents and managers warned that identifying as bisexual could damage his chances of becoming a leading man or action star. Because private life was rarely discussed at home, he initially did not view his silence as hiding. The turning point came while Newman was volunteering at a shelter serving LGBTQ+ youth. A young person thanked him for being a supportive straight ally. When he explained that he was not straight, she asked why he had never said so publicly. Newman later described the question as a wake-up call. Would you risk a major television breakthrough to give young people the visibility you never had? In March 2017, Newman recorded a spontaneous coming-out video on his phone and posted it online. He said representation mattered more than protecting an image Hollywood had created for him. Several reports immediately labeled him gay because he had a boyfriend, but Newman clarified that he was bisexual and attracted to both men and women. That correction exposed how easily bisexual men can be erased even while speaking openly about themselves. Murray Bartlett. Murray Bartlett is an Australian actor born in Sydney and raised in Perth, Western Australia. After training at the National Institute of Dramatic Art, he worked in Australian television before moving to New York in 2000. Audiences later recognized him as Dom Basiluzzo in Looking Armand in The White Lotus, Nick DeNoia in Welcome to Chippendales, and Frank in The Last of Us. Bartlett came out as gay during his teenage years. Unlike many performers of his generation, he had strong support at home, especially from his mother Anne, who had gay friends and gave him what he described as unconditional love. That foundation shaped an important career decision. He would not lie about himself simply to appear more marketable. Although he was not constantly discussing his sexuality in interviews, he lived openly from the beginning of his professional life. Would you remain honest if you knew it might quietly cost you major roles? Bartlett acknowledged that some casting opportunities may have disappeared because industry figures knew he was gay. Even so, he believed pretending to be someone else would have required too much energy and left him miserable. He continued accepting complex gay roles when other actors feared being typecast, including his early appearance in Sex and the City and later work in Looking. His persistence paid off decades later. At 51, Bartlett won an Emmy for playing Armand in The White Lotus. During his acceptance speech, he thanked his partner Matt and his mother, the two people who had given him a safe place to live without hiding. Noah Schnapp. Noah Schnapp is an American actor born in New York City and raised in Scarsdale, New York. He began working professionally as a child voicing Charlie Brown in the Peanuts movie and appearing in Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies. His breakthrough came as Will Byers in Netflix's Stranger Things, the boy whose disappearance launched the entire story. For years, Schnapp faced questions about Will's sexuality while he was still trying to understand his own. In 2022, he confirmed that Will was gay and in love with his best friend Mike. Playing that storyline gradually became personal. Schnapp later said that embracing Will helped accelerate his own self-acceptance, and that without the character he might have remained closeted. Could you portray someone else's fear so convincingly while quietly carrying the same fear yourself? On January 5, 2023, Schnapp came out publicly through an 8-second TikTok video. He explained that after being afraid to tell his family and friends for 18 years, their response was simply that they already knew. The light-hearted presentation did not erase the anxiety behind it. He had first come out privately to his twin sister Chloe, then to close friends including Millie Bobby Brown. The public response brought thousands of supportive messages. What made Schnapp's story unusual was the connection between actor and character. Will's long, restrained journey toward honesty had helped the young man playing him take the same step in real life. Brandon Flynn. Brandon Flynn is an American actor born and raised in Miami, Florida. After studying at New World School of the Arts and Rutgers University, he broke through as Justin Foley in Netflix's 13 Reasons Why. He later appeared in True Detective Ratchet Hellraiser and the queer horror comedy The Parenting. Flynn's story did not begin with a carefully planned celebrity announcement. He came out at 14 while attending a performing arts high school in Miami. Surrounded by students who sang, danced, and expressed themselves openly, he found an early sense of safety and what he later described as a chosen family. Even so, fame changed the scale of the conversation. Once 13 Reasons Why became a global success, his sexuality was suddenly treated as public news. Would you be comfortable having strangers turn something you settled as a teenager into a headline years later? In September 2017, Flynn responded to Vote No skywriting over Sydney during Australia's marriage equality debate. His Instagram post defended LGBTQ+ people who had faced rejection, violence, and pressure to remain closeted. Many outlets presented the message as his public coming out. but Flynn later explained that he had never staged such a moment or returned to the closet after 14. His private life eventually became visible on his own terms. Flynn married playwright Jordan Tannehill in New York in October 2024. In 2026, he described himself as bisexual, while explaining that he often prefers gay as a simpler personal label. An important nuance when telling his story accurately.